At UFC 249, Justin Gaethje shocked everyone, not just with his victory against Tony Ferguson, but also through the nature of his victory. Justin did exactly what Tony did to his rivals, namely, broke and left them in a pool of their own blood. But how did he manage to do this? You're watching MMA Time.
It's time!
And this is the technique breakdown of. The main narrative of the fight between Tony and Justin was the issue of preparation. The fact that Ferguson is coming to this match with a full camp, he trained since November, whereas Gaethje went to battle after only 4 weeks of training. Therefore, in all predictions, Justin was only given chances in the first 2 rounds. He himself said that he only has 10 minutes to knock out Tony. The longer battle goes on, the stronger Ferguson will become, but the reality turned out to be completely different. Gaethje's game plan was incredibly simple but very effective. Only 4 moves revealed all the flaws in Tony's technique. Ferguson has always been criticised of punches, and Justin did everything so that his opponent was left open for strikes. Firstly, when Tony is leg kicking, his jaw is always in the air, and secondly, because Ferguson is always intent on following his prey, he rushes forward, and this creates the ability to cut corners and attack him. To exploit these gaps, Justin needed a combination of a right straight left hook, a right low kick, a jab on shifting to the right, and the most important correct movement in the ring. The main part of Justin's plan was patience and confidence in his coach. Nobody would have expected that a fighter coming out on such short notice would fight economically for all 25 minutes. Ferguson was also expecting Gaethje to go out for a second round knockout, on the basis of which he built his game plan. In essence, Tony decided to go with the classics, to push forward with a change of stances and low kicks, front kicks in the body and straights in the jaw, after which connecting an elbow strike on a turn. But an important innovation for this fight was jab in the thigh, which would serve as preparation for an ankle pick, or Imanari roll. On paper, this logical plan for the battle to exhaust and then finish the enemy who goes on short notice. And as plan B, there is always a move to the pit. But you need to consider one important factor. El Cucuy was preparing for a duel with Khabib since November, and in the last month drove off weight twice. This clearly affected his physical and mental state. In fact, the first time he drove off the weight just to get extra confidence and mentally crush Justin. But in the duel, everything turned out the other way round. Right from the start, Gaethje is a surprise as he doesn't rush at Tony, but keeps his distance and moves to the sides, but at the same time, wanting El Cucuy go at him linearly, he uses a chopping right low kick. The second surprise from Justin was his defense against direct blows. He is known for deliberately catching his straights with his forehead, but against Tony, he used boxing classics, a horizontal block of Joe Frazier with a left hook, and he also managed to fend off the straights, which would cause a lot of problems for the opponent. After all, through straights, El Cucuy prepares uppercuts and controls the distance. Because of this, Tony began to throw out more and more front kicks for knocking out breath and to combine them with a direct hit. This is his signature combination. Gaethje very quickly shut down Ferguson's ambitions. He tried to fend off the front kick and threw a hook against the straights, after which he began to impose his pace of battle. Justin moved to the sides. When he needed to go to the right, he threw a jab or left hook at an offset. And when to the left, he used a deadly combination of a right straight, a dive to the left to charge for a strike and a left hook. Ferguson bit by bit begins to hit jabs in the thigh in order to eventually turn them into Imanari roll, but as it turned out, Gaethje has an answer to this. The same combination of the right straight left hook, in fact this answer was to the body jab. Gaethje quickly realised that this would work with a jab in the hip. The 5-minute period starts quickly. Tony moves more to the sides and throws out the jabs, which are parried, because of which they're to get closer, and now the combination of the right straight left hook changes slightly. The hook now aims not at the head but at the body. Gaethje has not forgotten El Cucuy's movement and continues to chop his front leg with low kicks. Ferguson tries to counter with low straights but to no avail, so he tries to combine a jab into a hip and a jab into the head. Justin simply responds with a combination of a straight and left hook. Tony tries to defend himself by raising his shoulders, but exactly for this reason, Gaethje threw a combination of a straight and a hook at the body. Mixing these two simple combinations, he simply cut off the opponent's hands, and when Tony dives under the right straight, then the right low kick comes to stop him. Due to the destruction of the supporting leg, it's harder for the opponent to move to the left under a straight hit. Also, low kicks make it impossible to change stance and throw turning elbow hits. By the middle of the round, it can be seen that Ferguson does not control his emotions and is bracing for blows, especially for the return low kicks, for which he immediately receives the answer with the already established combination. Tony still does not realise that he always lowers his head and then goes to the right, which the opponent successfully exploits. By the end of the round, Gaethje does what brought him 2 knockout defeats. He relaxes too much, and at this time El Cucuy notices that Justin always hits with his right hand and dives to the left for a left hook and catches him with a powerful uppercut. If it weren't for the bell, Tony would win by knockout. Between rounds, the main difference in training between the fighters becomes clear. In Gaethje's corner, he's reminded that he's flirting and bracing too much for a blow, because of which he flew away at the end, to which the fighter replies that he will correct this error. At the same time, Tony's corner says that he's doing everything perfectly and needs to continue. At the beginning of round 3, Tony begins to dismantle Gaethje on his shift with a straight. He still hits jabs in the leg, thereby continuing to invest in his future Imanari rolls and the ankle pick, which he planned to use according to the game plan. By the 3rd round, Gaethje finally got used to Tony's style. The fact is that Ferguson has very unusual timing and pace. He loves to effortlessly throw his straights, for example, break through a jab, take a short pause so the opponent makes a mistake and then break through with a straight. Or instead of straight, do something unexpectedly like a back fist. Before this fight, it was not clear how to work against such a rhythm of the battle, but as it turned out, you should not get stuck on the tempo itself. Since you should not repeat it in this matter, you need to create your own rhythm and break Ferguson's rhythm. Therefore, Justin did not fight with the general course of Tony's blows and his movements, but with the specific gaps that we explained in our analysis. For example, the fact Ferguson very often makes dives to the right during his hits, which makes his head position obvious at such moments, and it's easy for Justin to punch through a straight. Also, what has been known for a long time from the battle against Dos Anjos is Tony's corners. Justin easily cut them and found himself to the side of the Mexican. These are the 2 main mistakes that Tony did not correct for many years and Gaethje used. Instead of going into exchanges with an accelerating Tony, who creates his own rhythm, he simply used these errors and countered Ferguson each time, breaking this most important combination in a battle, a straight and left hook. At one such moment of Tony's acceleration, Gaethje as always hit true, and this time he was especially tightly controlled. It was a turning point in the battle. Gaethje started to hit more and more. There were cuts and damage. After this round, Ferguson's corner told him to urgently switch to Imanari rolls and grappling, but he would not listen to them. By the 4th round, Tony lost one of his most important aspects of the battle, his legs, or rather the kicks, thanks to which he succeeded at the beginning of the battle. Justin's low kicks acted unquestioningly. He chopped off Ferguson's legs, sometimes causing an inability to walk, so by this moment of the fight, he had lost his elbows, takedowns, and now his legs. All that Tony has left is his broken face and straight punches. An indicator of his damage is that he began to change stances trying to reduce the damage. But both legs were damaged. Tony for the first time stood in a low stance unusual for himself. He raised his hands and pushed up his shoulders. He had no other choice at that moment. He hit a little, but it was a matter of time before he again failed to block a straight with a left hook. At the 4th minute of the battle, Ferguson tried to enter close range to use the Wing Chun's technique, but these preparations are not suitable for Justin's new perfect style. As soon as he tried to grab Gaethje by the hands, he immediately received a counter-attack, and Justin himself immediately kept his distance. Any subsequent action by Tony is interrupted by the always working combination from Justin. Even when El Cucuy simply tries to turn around after a low kick, Gaethje punishes him for all unnecessary movements. Ferguson still can't not understand what to do. He continues to try to catch up with his pace and timing, but from the side we see how he hits a jab in anticipation of something and misses a hail of hooks. In retaliation, Ferguson showed a strong kick in the leg, but this is nothing compared to the damage that he received. After this round, Gaethje went to his corner happy, as if he had already won, but his coach immediately scolded him, saying, "Why are you happy? As soon as you think the victory is in your pocket, what happens?" To which Justin replied that he gets knocked out twice and immediately become more focused. At the same time, Tony was completely lost in his corner and did not listen to the coaches. Tony does not change anything in his tactics. He also stubbornly tries to advance on Gaethje and comes to the same result as before. As soon as Ferguson tries to adapt a little to Justin's combinations, he immediately begins to modernise them. For example, from the beginning of this round he beat only with his front hand jabs and hooks, since Tony was waiting for the back straight. At the same time, with his front hand he continued to focus cuts on the face of Kukui. And only in this round, having already been completely beaten, did Tony try to make the only Manari roll. But he looked without a chance, since he was exhausted, beaten, and did not pick a good moment. This had to be done much earlier, but Tony stubbornly wanted to outfox his opponent. And because of what happened next, Ferguson was really pitiful, since Justin just broke him and forced him to run away from the blows. The referee intervened and stopped the fight. Of course, it is very sad that Tony lost the fight, and lost his chance to fight with Khabib, possibly forever. But you also need to consider that Khabib and Justin have a common manager, Ali Abdelaziz, and possibly Gaethje spent all this time preparing for Tony and did not go out on a short notice. Add more crazy month-long weight cuts from Ferguson and we get the perfect circumstances for Justin's victory. However, the example of El Cookie proves that no matter how unique the fighter's style is, if he stops developing, as Tony did several years ago, developing only an attacking aspect, not a defensive one, then sooner or later the necessary keys to him will be found. 12 people in a row could not do this, but it could not go on forever, and Justin Gaethje was found. From all this we can conclude that even if a fighter wins, this does not mean that he does not have gaps in his technique. There are, only no one has been able to use them against him. Justin showed incredible progress, having come to the UFC as brawler. He lost and made conclusions, after which he is by far one of the biggest threats in lightweight division and fighter that can be considered as a real threat to Khabib Nurmagomedov. If you want us to analyse Justin Gaethje's technique as well as analyse his battle against Khabib, hit that like button so that we know what you are interested in. If you like our content and want to support our channel, visit our Patreon. There are a lot of analysis of fighters, top fives, documentaries and much more. Link is in the description. If you like that type of content, hit like button, smash subscribe and kick that notification button.